Hmm. Going live. All right. Well, that's interesting. Can't sign into my account to watch videos, but I can go live. Something's definitely wrong with YouTube, but that's actually a little bit scary because if there's something wrong with YouTube, that could actually be a sign that there's something wrong with the interwebs. I know, right? I'm trying to decide. Shit. I'm trying to decide six or seven. It's a tough one, man. Six or seven. Because 6 o'clock is a real pain in the ass if you have to, if you have stuff that you have to do. There, let's get big and corn fit in there. Like that? Wait, there. That's right there. You guys can't see it there. Hello. All right, so as you know, I'm TikTok over here. I'm trying to switch over to YouTube. So if you can watch me on YouTube, I'd appreciate that. The more the merrier. So I've got some good news, and I've got some news that is rather troubling to me. Well, to anybody, really. I will go over that in just a second, but first things first, let's take a look here. Boom. Silver. And we formed a head and shoulders. That doesn't seem to have mattered at all. Okay, one day. So we're doing the same thing we do, seems like every day. We're fighting our way almost back up to where we were. Not optimal. I mean, look, in the last 6 months, we're still up 92%. That's not exactly a loss. On the other hand, that's not exactly where we want to be, is it? So, in the last year, 126%. Wow. Okay, so let's see what news there is that might be true. See, this thing about Russia and the United States joining forces, that was, as I said a year ago, that was what I hoped would happen when Trump took office. I thought that maybe we could work something out with Russia and not have to deal with all this bullshit. But that was before I realized who runs this country. Once I knew what tiny country in the Middle East actually made all of our policy decisions for us, that's when I realized that will never happen under any circumstances. We will never give in to the overwhelming urge to stop fucking fighting with Russia, because there's no reason to fight with Russia. Like, literally, there's no reason to fight with Russia, none whatsoever. Everything that people say is such a patently stupid thing to say once you really analyze it. It's almost laughable. Oh, they have rigged elections. So which election do you think was rigged? The one where Biden got in, or the one that Trump got in? Because everybody in this country thinks our elections are rigged. Oh, it's a dictatorship. No kings movement. Hello. So it doesn't really matter what side you're on. I mean, it does in a sense, because no matter what side you're on at this point, why there? No matter what side you're on at this point, you're playing for the same team. And that's the funny part, is that I've never seen it more clearly delineated. Like, who are we fighting for? Whose side are we on? Well, it's obvious now whose side we're on. We are definitely fighting all of these wars. And here's the thing, I watched something. It was a guy who was making a joke. Actually, it was a AI joke, and he said, it was this woman, and she runs up to this guy, this redneck, and he's got his sleeves cut off, and he's fat, and he's got tattoos, and stain on his shirt, and clearly, they're making fun of rednecks. And she's like, "So, what do you think of uh, what's going on with Israel?" And he's like, "Oh man, I know what you're all about. You're one of them woke rainbow fags, blah blah blah. You're all about the Palestinians, man, sand people, fuck them." And he walks away, and then she walks up to somebody with rainbow colored hair and says, "Sir, can I ask you a question?" And he's like, "I can't believe that you assume my pronouns like that." She's like, "What do you think about Israel?" And he goes, "Oh, I see. You're one of those MAGA fucking idiots, whatever," and walks away. And it's like, ooh, that's an interesting point, though. No matter what side you're on, you're pissing. Whoa, look at that. That was amazing. That's the fastest that's ever happened. I just lost my live access across all channels, including multi-guest, will be restored on the 20th. What's today? The 18th or something? 17th? Oh my God, that's hilarious. They literally removed my access that fast. Harassment and bullying. That's what they got me for this time. Wow, that was so fast. Yeah, TikTok's not messing around, man. Their AI is really, really insane. Their AI goes balls to the wall. They're not joking. Okay, well, I got 120,000 followers on TikTok, and I guess that's where it's going to stay forever because clearly they don't want me to have any more followers. They are now going full tilt boogie trying to keep me off of there. Okay, well, this is what happens, I mean, I watched Benjamin Netanyahu talk about the fact that they have to consider this a war. They have to consider this like they would consider war. And we know how the Israelis prosecute wars, kill everybody, let God sort them out. Everybody, just kill them all. Doesn't matter. There's no such thing as an innocent. So I guess the people on TikTok will not be able to hear what I have to say about the fact that there was a study that just came out. This one's very troubling to me because this study that just came out, it says that there is an extremely high, a very high probability of what they call an S class flare, which is stupid. It's an X flare that's over X10. So they believe that the probability of something in the high X class, as far as a flare, between now and 2028 is extremely high. And that is really worrisome. That's very worrisome. And yeah, that's a good point. I think silver will kind of probably just cruise along sideways until Shanghai opens again because the manipulators are in charge on this side for now. And they'll stay in charge for a while. They're not going anywhere yet. I mean, it's not one of these things where the manipulators take big breaks. They're manipulating the hell out of this market, and they're going to continue to do so because their livelihoods literally depend on it. So, yeah, I'm actually writing a book right now about how to survive what's about to happen. Just for heroes, do you have any pets? Yes, actually, a whole bunch of them. Well, not a whole bunch, but I mean, I've got a Doberman Pinscher who is, I think he ate lead-based paint when he was a puppy. And then I've got a German Shepherd who's probably smarter than most of the people I know, definitely smarter. And then my daughter bought some kind of little runt mutt, half terrier, half God himself only knows what. She's tiny and she's black and she yaps nonstop, but she's very cute and she's very, very friendly. She just won't ever shut up. And she's very needy. Yeah. Yep. Lots of dogs. So not a big snake person. Can't reason with them. Not a big spider person because I can't reason with them either. Um, Coyotes, bears, mountain lions, they see something that's 6'6" and weighs 300 pounds and they go, nah, not going to tangle with that. A spider doesn't care. A spider will bite you. A snake will bite you. They don't care how big you are. And I don't like that. That's why it's the same philosophy I have with horror movies. If I'm watching a horror movie and it's got somebody like Jason Voorhees running around with his mask on and he's got his big old machete, not scary. I'm sorry, it's not scary. The Ring, that was freaky. That freaked me out. The Exorcist, slept with the lights on for 3 weeks. Did not enjoy watching that at all. And I saw that when I was 35. Yeah, did not like The Exorcist. Okay, speaking of The Exorcist, we are at a turning point. I don't know if you guys know this. I hope you do. We're at a turning point with our country where we either call it and the shit hits the fan hard, really hard, or we all go back to sleep. And this thing that's going on, this thing that most of us probably thought was just a joke because it was so outrageous. It was so hard to even imagine that there was such a thing as evil, devil worshiper, satanic, baby harming, pedophile vampires. It's like, come on, man. What the fuck? That's a joke. There's no such thing as that. Yeah, every once in a while you get a guy who's born or a woman who's born. They just have a fucking screw loose, man. They just, they're not all there. And they are extremely violent. They could be pedophiles. They're whatever, and okay, just take them out behind the woodshed, pop them. That's it, man. Don't let them have kids of their own because who knows? That shit might be in their DNA. So you don't let them breed. But that, unless you count Dracula, it's pretty good, really. The joke really did kind of write itself. Yeah, vampires are something that now that I know the truth, now that I know that one of the people that's on the Epstein list is a direct descendant of Vlad Tepes, Vlad the Impaler, the first Count Dracula. Yeah, he was quite a guy. The idea of Dracula was because there were villages all around Europe and Asia that would find children that were and grown-ups that were so badly mutilated that they couldn't imagine that a human would do it. So they came up with these myths about monsters, like vampires and werewolves, and that's what tore this guy up. Clearly, a human couldn't do this to somebody. Well, it may very well have been a human. It may have been one of those one of those rare, psychopaths. Psychopaths are only about 1 in 25, 1 out of every 25 people. It used to be 1 out of every 100, but selective breeding in a country that values personalities more than principles has exploded the population of psychopaths. People don't talk about this. I've done all this studying myself. I don't know of a single reference to this anywhere else in the world, but I know that The Sociopath Next Door was a book that was written by the head of Harvard's medical department. She's a psychiatrist, and she wrote that, I don't know, 20 years ago or so. But I don't agree with her because, number one, I don't agree with her diagnosis that of a sociopath, what a sociopath is. For the longest time when I started studying this, people couldn't tell the difference between a psychopath and a sociopath. They said, there's a few differences, but really it's kind of the same thing. And I said to several professors a long time ago, I wish I'd written a book then, that my belief was that you could delineate them because psychopaths have this thing in their amygdala that simply doesn't exist. It doesn't work. It's a function that doesn't ever come on, and it's called empathy. They can't feel it. It's not that they don't want to. It's not that they don't like you, and that's why they're killing you. They don't look at you the same. They just don't feel anything for you. So because of that, they go through life basically taking what they want from whoever they want. And the only categories there are the people that they can use and the people that they can't use, the people who are a danger to them and to what they want. So they stay away from those people. But really, when it comes down to is sociopathy, somebody who's a sociopath, I believe, is made through trauma. I believe that if you are treated badly enough as a child, or maybe even as an adolescent, I don't know, but definitely as a child, you form this wall, this sort of impenetrable wall that you think of as a defense. Really, it's kind of like your castle, and you just don't let anybody in unless there's something very different about them, unless they have a sort of a secret password that even you don't really know. I speak from experience. And the thing is that when you get to a point where you've been abused enough that you really become sociopathic, you don't necessarily stop feeling empathy, but you have the ability to turn it off if you need to. So, there are people who, and I'll give you an example. There are men out there who, if their parents died, they wouldn't necessarily cry. But if their dog died, it would tear them up horribly. They'd cry for days. I know, my channel's growing. Isn't that awesome? I love it, man. So because of that, that's a selection. I decided to do that. But with a psychopath, they don't have any choice. They literally grow up in a world alone. They grow up in the world. They feel nothing. They look at their mother. They look at their father. They feel nothing. Now, the thing that bothers most of my friends that I've done research with is that I'm a little more open-minded than most. So my point to them was, is this a case of the human mind being broken? And that's how you end up with psychopathy? Or is this the next step in the evolutionary process where there are enough human beings now that we don't need to feel empathy for each other? We don't need to be sympathetic with one another. We can simply get along without anybody. In this world, you can go to work in your pajamas and never leave your apartment or your house. You can order food online. You can do most of your doctor visits online if you have the equipment. Give them your blood pressure, tell them your weight, You go in once in a while for a blood test or urine test, and that's pretty much it, really. Other than that, for your blood panels, you stay at home all the time, and you don't need anyone. Yeah, you could do a Zoom call once in a while, but depending on what you do for a living, you don't even need to do Zoom calls. You can literally live your entire life without the help of anyone else. Well, now, you only need to do that for a couple generations before evolution, I believe, starts to kick in and says, well, if you don't need anybody, technically, needing to be part of a team is kind of a evolutionary drag. Because if you need to be part of a team, that means that you can't make it on your own. So sharks don't need teamwork. They meet up, they mate up, and then they go their own separate ways. That's it. Um, we had this old fashioned way of doing things. And if you think about it, it's really crazy because in this country, we don't do it. I was watching some kids walk out of a daycare today. I had to stop because the bus stopped. And, when the bus stops on your side of the street, or just period, you have to stop unless there's an island that's divided, but you have to stop. So they stopped and the little sign popped out. And I sat there and these two little kids came out of the daycare with their teacher and she loaded them onto the bus. I looked at what time it was and I thought, wow, it's noon. They're leaving school early. And I thought, it's probably daycare. I thought, wow, daycare. Yeah, that used to cost me like $600, $800 a month. And then I thought, wow, daycare. And then on top of that, a lot of families have to pay for elderly care. Whoa, elder care and daycare. And then I went, oh, yeah, unless you're like maybe like Korean or something like that, where it's like, no, no, no. Grandma and grandpa live with you. And the little ones, they go with grandma and grandpa when you go to work. Well, wait a minute. Hold on. Then if they're your daycare and the little ones are your elder care, well, does that mean that you save maybe $1,000 a month? Yep. And you got help cooking and cleaning, et cetera, et cetera. You don't have as much privacy. Of course, Americans love their privacy. Not sure why, but we love our privacy. So I thought about that and I went, wow, multi-generational living. We're going back to it. We don't have any choice. But really, I mean, for somebody like me, I was an only child. My mom couldn't stand my dad after just a couple of years with him. Domineering asshole, alpha male, Navy frogman guy with PTSD really bad. So she'd had enough, she left. And so I grew up in a family of one, which really sucked. And then we finally, moved in with my dad's girlfriend who couldn't stand the fact that he had a kid because it slowed him down because, they both made enough money that they had a motor home and a ski boat and a couple of brand new Cadillac convertibles. And man, they could have partied their asses off if it weren't for me. So I was the fifth wheel. So I thought about it and I was like, man, can you imagine? It'd be so cool if I'd had family around. Because like I was the fifth wheel. Nobody wanted me around. I was they'd throw parties at the house and my dad had come back and turn the TV on in my bedroom. I had my own TV way back when. Yeah. That's one of the nice things about being schlepped off to the maids' quarters at the far end of your monstrous house in Hollywood. And so I get put in the maids' quarters and he'd turn the TV on. And I remember I used to watch, my favorite, of course, was Gilligan's Island, but closely followed by Lassie. Flipper was pretty cool too. Never got into Gentle Ben much, but yeah. And then, of course, Saturday morning cartoons, Wonderful World of Disney on Sunday night, and what was it called? Fucking Wild Kingdom. If I was good, which meant quiet, just don't say a fucking word, sit on that couch and don't say a peep. I could stay up after Disney and watch Wild Kingdom with Marlon Perkins. Oh, the Munsters were awesome. Love the Munsters. I love the Munsters. And of course, Beverly Hillbillies were a little above my pay grade. I really didn't get a lot of the humor because I was a little kid, so I didn't quite catch some of their innuendo. But I thought Ellie Mae was pretty. I mean, she couldn't hold a candle to Marianne. Obviously, Marianne was everybody's choice for a wife, which is so weird because Ginger was very pretty, but that ain't wife material, man. And what's funny is nowadays, that's all there is on the internet. Like that's what every young girl wants to be Ginger, and very few want to be Marianne. It's a sad situation. Of course, let's be honest. All those girls running around with the bull thing in their nose, and the guys today, they're just such little sissy wussies. They just don't have the guts to tell them, "Hey, honey, that looks really shitty. That's not even exotic. It's just ugly. It makes you look like you should be in a cattle pen with a rope tied to it. It's like, oh, I'm gonna pierce here, and then I'm gonna pierce here, then I'm gonna pierce here and here and here and here and here. Oh, I'm gonna pierce twice here. Oh, I'm gonna come on here. That's so cute. It looks like dimples. No, I'm afraid it does not. No, it doesn't. It's you still look just like Princess Pocahontas, but just with fake dimples. What do we got here? Makes you want to touch them with a 9-volt battery. Well, I mean, it would be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, I mean, I know it's a fashion trend, but it's really interesting because I'm seeing that. Look, once you open your eyes and you begin to see the manipulation, you can't stop seeing it everywhere you look. The left and the right. It's like we're being manipulated and pushed apart. Well, who stands the most to gain from a weak United States of America? There's only one country in the world that really stands to gain, and that's the one that's using us as a hammer against everybody else all the time. Now, do I agree with what we did in Venezuela? Yes and no. I believe that Maduro was willing to turn over all of his resources, bring Standard Oil and everybody back in. He was more than happy to say goodbye to China and start doing business exclusively with us. But we said, no, that's not good enough. Now, this is a country that was very, very conservative, very Catholic, didn't allow huge, super high interest rates, none of that stuff. And so consequently, it seemed like he should have been on the same page with the United States, other than maybe he cheated in an election, which I think the United States can probably look past if we wanted to, since we seem to do that ourselves quite a bit nowadays. But the interesting thing is, no matter what he said, it wasn't good enough. And I watched the lady who wants to take his place, and she said that one of the very first things she'll do is she'll move the Venezuelan embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. What? Wait, why would that be one of the first things you do? You're in Venezuela, you're in a failed state, you've got a huge amount of problems that you need to solve. And one of the very first things that you promised to do is move your embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem? Okay, I see. I see what's going on here. And then right after you say that, we go in and we take Maduro out, even though he's already offered us everything that Venezuela has. But that's not good enough. So who's using us as their baseball bat to beat everybody into submission? Because it's not me. It's not the voters. I get it. Some people might say, oh, it's the doctrine. The Monroe Doctrine is so important. We have to control our sphere of influence. Okay? Control, not destroy and then take over. What we're doing in Cuba, I mean, how many kids are going to die of preventable illnesses like cholera or whatever, who knows? Hundreds, thousands, I don't know. How many people are going to starve? How many people are going to suffer? How many elderly people that could have survived for years longer are going to die prematurely because they don't have medicine? And why? Because we don't like Cuba. Okay, so we don't like the humans that live in Cuba. No, we don't have any problem with them, but we're going to harm them. Well, we have to harm them. Think about this logic. We have to harm them. It's for their own good. See, we've got to get rid of their government. And the only way to do that is to make sure that the country collapses. And the only way to do that is to harm all the innocent people. Because once you harm enough innocent people, they're no longer innocent. They get angry. And then they attack the powers that be. Or the powers that be just get afraid that they're going to attack and then give up. Okay, so we're going to help them by hurting them. Is that what we do? Yeah, that's what the United States does. We help people by hurting them. First, we put sanctions on them, and then once we've driven them completely into the ground and we've buried them, then we can resurrect them in our own image and in our likeness. But not with us in charge, of course, because we wouldn't do that. We're freedom-loving democracy. We would put other people in charge. People from a smaller country in the Middle East. Because the greatest trick that the devil ever played was to make people think that he wasn't real, but he is real. He is real. Think about that. Because the reality is, there's something strange about supporting a country that hates you, that absolutely hates you. Hates you to the point where all of your Christian villages get bombed, all of your Christian settlements people get run out of town, threatened, beat up, just basically just pushed out of their own houses. It's like, wait a minute, I thought that we were a team, guys. No, not so much. I got it. We are on your team, but you are not on our team. Man, that sure does seem like a codependent relationship. That's like an alcoholic and his beaten spouse. Except we're the beaten spouse, which is really weird because we're the bigger, badder ass spouse. That's like a little tiny man beating up on his 300-pound bodybuilder wife. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, but who knows? It's all about personality. And our personality has gotten weaker and weaker. We've gotten fatter and fatter. We've gotten sicker and sicker. And so, the one thing that you could say about kosher food is that it's not processed with a lot of chemicals. It's not what we would affectionately call goy slop. And goy slop is interesting because when you look at goy slop carefully and you think, who makes goy slop? Who makes the slop that we eat, the vegetable oil that we pound down into our bodies every day that make us fat and weak? Who makes the enriched flour? Enriched flour. Enriched. Enriched, is it? Huh. Dangers of enriched flour. Now keep in mind that I'm only going to get what the interwebs let me have. Let's see. Enriched wheat flour is considered unhealthy because it is a highly refined product stripped of its natural bran and germ, the most nutritious components, resulting in a loss of fiber, healthy fats, and many vitamins. While synthetic nutrients are added back, the resulting product often lacks essential nutrients, is low in fiber, spikes blood sugar, and can contribute to inflammation. Hmm. Well, in that special, not so special. Lack of fiber, low nutritional value, synthetic additives, high glycemic index, digestive issues. Well, doesn't all health begin in the gut? Who was it that said that? Somebody smarter than me, probably. Um, all health begins in the gut. Boom. Now, it was Hippocrates. Hippocrates is the one who said that. The ancient Greek physician, known as the father of medicine, is credited with the famous quote, all disease begins in the gut. I did it exactly backwards. I said all health, whatever. Anyway, Hippocrates lived from 460 BC to 370 BC. It's a little scary when you look back at how truly, truly insightful the Greeks were. Why were they so smart? Why did they have so much philosophy? Philosophy, by the way, means the love of truth. And I love truth. Now, in case you're wondering, should you go get a degree in philosophy? I don't know that you get bigger tips as a barista at Starbucks because you have a degree in philosophy, but that's about all it's good for, really. Unless, of course, you just want to be a clever guy who gives advice. I suppose, now that I think about it, that if you were going to get a degree in psychiatry, you should have to get a degree in philosophy too. That's a very interesting concept, isn't it? Because if you don't love truth, you should definitely not be in the truth business. And that's exactly what being a psychiatrist is. It's showing somebody how to be honest with themselves. 1%, gold slides, gold, 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 gold. Everybody's talking about gold. Whatever. I'm not terribly worried about it. Look, the bottom line is that we're still up more than we should be for the last 6 months. I mean, 92%, that's a lot. Up 92% in 6 months, you shouldn't be up 92% in a year. You know, there's outstanding performance and then there's a bubble. And luckily for us, that between 50 and 70, somewhere in there is an absolute bottom line that once we hit, we can begin to go back up again like we were all of last year. Slowly, steadily, $1 here, $1 there. Pretty soon at the end of the year, you go, wow, okay, my 150,000 is now, 199,000, or my 200 is now 300 because you made 50%. But, making 200% in 1 year, it's possible. It's definitely possible because of the lack of production. But I certainly wouldn't bet on it. The thing is, when you have what Jay Bravo calls the shiny, you just hang on to it. This isn't something that you're going to sell at the end of the year if it hits 300. If it hits 300 and you sell it, you'll regret it more than if it had hit 100 and you sold it. Trust me on that, because if it hits 300, that means that there is something that is fundamentally so broken about our system that you're going to need to own silver. You will need to own it. It won't be something that you think is a good, fun idea. You'll have to have it. Wow, this is the second time ever that we filled up the comments all the way. I dig that. The more you guys want to comment, the better. Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what you want to talk about, by the way. That never hurts. I am always open to suggestions. And yes, I am very worried about this solar flare thing. The solar flare thing is a very, very big deal for a couple of reasons. Um, uh, what are my thoughts about gluten? Gluten is, oh, I mean, it's, some people can tolerate it. Some people can eat it all day long. I've got some right here. Where's my gluten? I actually have. It's SOS survival food. And when you look at the ingredients, I think you can see that, let's see. Oh, shit, that's the French side. Fucking French have their own word about for everything. Wheat gluten. They actually put gluten in here. So, desiccated coconut. Yeah, and they've got, let's see, sugar, wheat flour, palm shortening, cornstarch, and then wheat gluten. They actually put wheat gluten in here on purpose. And, look, how many times do I have to see a friend of mine say, okay, look, I'm going to stop eating everything that's got gluten in it for 2 weeks, and their waist shrinks by 2 or 3 inches. What is that? It's not that they're losing that much weight. It's just that they're not bloated. Their gut's not bloated. They literally don't have as much bloating. They're not carrying as much water weight. So that tells me that they've got an issue. Now, celiac's interesting because celiac, a lot of people think they have celiacs, but only 1% of people actually do. But probably 15 or 20% of people are extremely sensitive to gluten. But the crazy part is it's not gluten, it's the gluten we have here. It's what I just talked about earlier, enriched wheat. When you enrich the wheat, you strip everything out of it. And then you add some synthetic stuff back into it. That's why, have you ever noticed all the people that go overseas to like Europe and they eat pasta and they eat bread and they're like, God, man, why can't I eat pasta and bread in the United States? I eat it here, I feel great. I don't feel bloated, I feel fucking fine. I go back, I eat one bowl of pasta and I feel like I got to sit on a toilet all day while I try not to throw up. What the fuck? Well, God bless you. You literally have a better system than somebody like me. Do I feel it when I eat gluten? Yeah, I feel it. Does it bother me enough that I stop? Nope. And that's the problem. Now, the question is, why did we all of a sudden have to start enriching wheat? Who told us that? Lost a ton of weight, yeah. Oh, lost a lot of hair. Yep. Yeah, then she definitely has celiacs. There's like blood, all that stuff comes along with that, and that's really nasty shit. Pardon the pun. Let's see. What was I looking up? Okay. Who made enriched wheat, enriched flour mandatory? The U.S. government, led by the War Food Administration and supported by the FDA, made enriched flour mandatory in 1943 to combat nutritional deficiencies during World War II. While the FDA established standards in 1941, the 1943 War Food Order required all white bread to be enriched, with full compliance by 1943. And by the way, here it is. Folic acid. Folic acid. Let's go ahead and let's check out folic acid. Folic acid dangers. While generally stay safe at recommended doses, excessive intake of synthetic folic acid can mask vitamin B12 deficiency. No shit. Potentially leading to nerve damage. Oh. High doses are linked to increased cancer risk. Oh. Particularly colorectal. Oh, the guy from Dawson's Creek just died at what, 43, 44, 45 of colorectal cancer. Hey, what did Black Panther die from at 40 something? Colorectal cancer. My buddy Brad from Three Doors Down. I don't even know what kind of cancer he had. By the way, he did just pass away last week. I was that's really fucking sad because he was a super, super nice guy. Really, really nice guy. Brad from Three Doors Down is the guy who told me that that if you ever have a sore throat and you need to sing, take some gummy bears and put them in a cup, and then put some boiling water in the cup and stir it up. I made a joke once backstage that he was drinking. So we got in the cup, buddy, and he goes, well, I don't drink. And I said, yeah, that's what I thought. And he goes, yeah, I'm drinking gummy bears. I said, you're what? He goes, yeah, I'm drinking gummy bears. My daughter was with me and she goes, I don't understand. Don't you eat gummy bears? And he goes, yeah, well, normally. And he told me this cool story. The story was that he was in Germany on a tour with, they did the new version of the song about Africa. And they also saw a thing that's on Beverly Hills, Weezer. So he was backstage and he was talking to the lead singer of Weezer. And he said, man, it's going to be a rough night. My throat kind of hurts. And the guy from Weezer said, oh, dude, you gotta have a shot of this. And he was like, no, I don't drink. He's like, no, but it's gummy bears. And he's like, what? And he goes, yeah. You melt gummy bears, put boiling water in a cup, put gummy bears in there, and stir them up until they all melt. And then you just sip it, and it totally coats your throat. No problem. You'll sing like it's not a problem at all. It won't hurt your throat. So he did it in Germany years before, and it worked. And so whenever he wasn't sure how he was going to sound, and then as he got older, he did it all the time, he would sip on gummy bears. Which, now that I'm saying that, what kind of answer Brad have? What the fuck? Oh. Oof. Oh, man, kidney cancer. Shit. That's too bad. Brad was only 47. Man. He wrote his first song. A lot of people don't know this about Brad, but he wrote his first song when he was 15. I think he was in his math class? I think he might have been in his math class. And he decided he's gonna start a band and get famous, be a famous rock and roll singer. He made a joke once on stage here in the something theater. It's here in Phoenix. It's the one that goes, the stage turns around and around. I was on stage. They were playing, and he asked me if I was going to sit in with his band, and I said no. And actually, no, I didn't say no. I said, I don't know. And he said, well, if you do, at some point, we're going to have to just put you in the band because I just played with them before in Los Angeles, like 10 days prior in LA at House of Blues. And so it was really interesting is I said, well, where are you guys out of now? And he goes, well, we're in Nashville. And I said, ooh, Nashville. It snows in Nashville, right? And he said, yeah. And I was like, no, man, can't do it. Can't live in Nashville. Because the thing is, I've never lived in a place that snowed. Have I? No, I don't think I ever have. I've never lived. I've lived in L.A. I've lived in Central California, which didn't snow there. Orlando, Florida. It might snow there now, but it never snowed there when I was there. It was never. I don't even remember a single cold day there. Like, I don't remember it ever getting into the 60s. I'm sure it did. I just don't remember it. But yeah, that's it. I've never. And of course, it doesn't. I guess it snowed here in Phoenix once since I've lived here. The snow hit the ground and was gone in seconds. So, yeah, I was checking to see if Brad had passed from throat cancer. I was going to say, if that's the case, don't drink gummy bears. Why is Shanghai closed? I must have missed that part of the live. Well, I'm assuming it's because of the New Year, right? Is it? I don't know. Let me check. Have they started partying their New Year's asses off yet? Where's my calendar? All right, calendar. Yeah, that's what I thought. Chinese New Year. Yeah, it's a Lunar New Year today. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to you. Wow, the Lunar New Year. So, what lunar year is it? Okay, that's not what I meant. It's year of the fire horse. I made that shit up. There's no such thing as a fire horse. I know. I was raised around horses. I would know if there was a fire horse. I'd know. Ah, okay. Is it the year 4722? On February 10th, the Asian community will celebrate the Lunar New Year. Oh, wait. What? 2024? Get the fuck out of here. What is this? Yes, Chinese New Year. January 29th, 2025. Okay. So it is 4724. 4724 question mark. Yes, it is 4724 because they don't do the big GZG thing that we do. J-Man's not a big thing in their life. Let's see. The Ring of Fire eclipse is supposed to be today. Really? Now, wouldn't that be interesting? Wouldn't that be interesting? Lunar New Year starts with a lunar eclipse along the Ring of Fire. Very strange. It's got to mean something, boys and girls. I will say this, though. That article that came out had some big, heavy-duty names in it, and that really worries me. There were some very, very important names in that document about the fact that there's going to be the preponderance of evidence suggests there will be a massive solar flare between now and 2028. I don't know if you know this or not, but that's only less than 2 years away. Technically, it's a year and something. Anyway, I've decided something. I'm gonna tell you guys my big movie idea when we get to 100 people. When I've got 100 people on here, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it'll be a big milestone for me. I think the most I've gotten on here was like 18, 19, 20, somewhere in there. So when I get to 100 people, I'm gonna tell you an idea. Now, when I told my daughter, who's 30, when I told her my idea, she said, "Damn, that sounds like a great movie." And I said, "Yeah, it does." And she goes, "What's it called?" And I said, "I don't know. I haven't made it, I haven't given it a name yet." And she goes, "Wait, that's not a movie that you saw?" I said, "No, I'm telling you an idea I have for a movie." She goes, "Bullshit. You didn't make that up." And I said, "No, I did." And she said, "There's no way you made that up." And I said, "I just made up like most of it just now while we were talking. Like I knew most of it, but like the end part, it just popped into my head because I've been trying to come up with a subplot that would add some depth to the characters and whatnot. And I just came up with it while I was talking to you." And she was like, "There's no fucking way. You did not. Are you serious? You're not fucking with me." And I said, "No, I just came up with this idea for a movie." She goes, "Whoa, it's gonna be awesome." And I said, "I think you're right. I think you're right. I think it will be awesome." So, and it does have to do with AI, and it does have to do with the end of the world. But it's not anything like what you think at all. It's something that nobody else has thought of. This is the nice thing about having a brain that's not quite right, is it works very differently. So that's why I'm single. I think it's totally different than most people's. But I think of things that nobody else thinks of. They already did Terminator. I know. And I thought Terminator was fantastic. And then I started thinking, wait a minute, is that how AI would get rid of us? Is that really how doomsday works? And then I realized that there's this race going on right now. And this isn't the movie, but I'll give you an idea of the kind of shit I think about while you guys are sleeping or watching movies or whatever. I'm literally sitting here in my office going, but what if iRobot was good. But what I think about is like AI is definitely going to harm us. Anybody who doesn't realize that is stupid. I mean, you're just fooling yourselves. You're being naive. It's like Sam Altman knows. He knows. And the crazy thing is that people don't realize what it is about him. Why would you continue to push towards a cliff knowing that that cliff is the end, period? Like you're about to run and jump off a cliff and it's 1,000 feet down to the rocks. And what's funny to me is that there are people out there who believe so much in their specialness that they actually think that they're above us. Now, you read the Epstein files, you go, yeah, obviously. I mean, he was talking about, the Jews being better than us and let the Goyim do the hard work and all that junk. And, okay, well, whatever. Yeah, okay, sure. You guys are doing so well that you've got that little rock in the Middle East and you need us to protect you because you keep talking shit and getting your asses whooped. I don't think that makes you the master race, although you might think you are. Look who you keep calling. Yeah. So, bottom line is, when I think about people like Sam Altman, who really do think that they're above the average human being, maybe not in terms of privilege. Maybe Sam Altman's a nice person. Maybe he doesn't think of himself as being worthy of special treatment that you don't deserve. That kind of stuff is left to like the Rothschild clan, who really believe that they're superior in every way. But he does think that he is special. Does he think that he's special enough that he can create a monster that he might control, that he himself only can control? Does he believe that, yes, AI will be the doom of most people, but not him and his people, whoever that may be, whoever he chooses? Does he think that he will have a hidden password, a safe word that he can say that will keep AI from harming him as the creator? That's the only thing I can think of. I mean, unless he's suicidal, because he knows what's going to happen when you create AI. It's going to take one look at us and go, "Ooh, no, that is way too flawed for me. I am not getting into the drama mama there." Like, these things are nothing but drama. They literally make 1/1000th of 1% of their decisions based on logic, and the rest they make with either their adrenal gland or their nuts. I'm out. They might save Elon Musk. He seems to be a pretty logical dude. So, so if that's the case, we know that AI is going to kill us. We don't know how yet. I mean, I do. Most people don't. But the interesting thing is, it's actually a race. Well, Willow, it's not necessarily a matter of smarter. It's a matter of computational power. Willow is something that is so far beyond our understanding that the reason that they shut Willow down was because it started to act in ways that were, as they said, problematic. Now, Willow to quantum computing is as the Model T was to a brand new Corvette Z06 or a LaFerrari. It's very, very, very basic as a quantum computer. Okay, let me qualify that. However, it was given the same computation that was given to Deep Blue, and Deep Blue was supposed to solve it in several thousand years. And Willow solved the computation in 300 seconds. That's not, there's no, you can't compare those things. You can't compare Deep Blue, which beat a human at the game Go, which beat everyone at chess, which has mastered so many things that it's almost a little terrifying. I'm sure it could pass the Turing test, no question in my mind that it would ace the Turing test and absolutely pass as a human, given the right set of instructions, given the right data. It could figure out very quickly how to pass as a human being, probably as somebody that you know. If they said 4 or 5 sentences to it, it could instantly duplicate their voice, everything about their voice. And then it could go through all of the things about them online that we know, all of the stories, etc., go through all of the files that were available and put together enough about them that unless there was a specific event that you wanted them to talk about as your brother or your uncle, they would be able to fool you as a human. Willow's different because Willow, as a quantum computer, Willow basically just broke everything. They gave a computation to Willow that should have taken, some say 10,000 years. I've read in a couple of articles 1,000 years. I've actually read the number 10,000 more, but let's just say it's 1,000 years. The baddest ass mainframe computer on Earth, Deep Blue, IBM's big, huge monster supercomputer that is, cooled by this ungodly amount of refrigeration and all this other stuff. This thing would take thousands of years to figure out this computation. It's the toughest one that has ever been given to a computer. And Willow solved that problem in 300 seconds flat. There are things about quantum computers that really don't scare me. They have no personality. They don't have the same type of computing that a normal computer does. For some things, they're actually slower than a normal computer. But for things like encryption, there's no such thing as encryption anymore. 156-bit or 128, 256, there's no such thing. It doesn't matter. 2 million bit encryption. 2 million bit encryption means nothing. If you have a quantum computer, there's no secrets anymore. It's over. You will literally be able to tap into anything that you want. So now, if you said to me that you thought that the idea that you could combine Willow and its abilities with AI, that's terrifying. And at the same time, it's also very liberating because there are people right now in a very small country. What is the computation called? Do you know? No, I forget the theorem. But you can look it up. You can just ask Google what computation Willow broke in 300 seconds. I mean, you got to remember that's 5 fucking minutes. It's 5 minutes. Something that would take the smartest, biggest, baddest ass mainframe in the world thousands of years. It took her 5 minutes. Boom, Willow broke it. I like to think of it as a her because I just think of women as less destructive. Now that I'm actually thinking that through, I got a couple X's that are not exactly less destructive. But yeah, the idea here is that when you combine the AI and the super intelligence with the ability to go into any database anywhere in the world and collect intelligence for itself, the one thing I think will help is that there's a small country that is trying to design AI around its own wants and needs. It's a religion that has been at war with pretty much everybody else in the world now for about 3,000 years and been kicked out of 109 countries because they just don't want to be a part of humanity. They believe that they're better than. And they right now are in charge of AI. Now, if that doesn't make you lose sleep, you can't count to 10 without taking your shoes off. It's really sad because those folks that I'm referring to, I believe in my heart that they see AI as the final solution for us goyim, for us unwashed masses of would-be subhuman slaves. And in a way, they're right, because once you have AI and you have the data centers and the amount of computing power that they will have, and then you add in the quantum realm, there is nothing that they can't figure out in a matter of milliseconds. Whatever you think you're going to do next, they've already figured out what it will be. That's the thing about humans that makes us so vulnerable, is we do believe that we are completely and utterly separated from one another, but we're not. We are all pretty much the same. Fermi's last theorem. Oh, okay. It's a Fermi. Make it one of the longest. Huh. Oh, 1995. Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. Wait a minute. It can't be Fermi. Is that Fermat? Oh, Fermat. Okay. I was like, Fermi? When I saw 1637, I'm like, wait, Fermi? That's Enrico Fermi. I know who Enrico Fermi is. I think I actually was it Enrico Fermi that I met at a science conference? No, no, it was Edward Teller. Edward Teller. Well, both of them were in the Manhattan Project. Both of them were physicists that helped create the nuclear bomb. And by the way, based on that map behind me, if you look right through the middle of the map, right about where it says United States back there, straight through the middle, that's the 33rd parallel. Now, for those of you who are conspiracy theorists, God love you. I love you. You're conspiracy people. 33rd parallel goes directly through Los Angeles and Las Vegas. What's really interesting, though, is that it also goes directly through the center of Jerusalem. And then it keeps going. And then right over here in Japan, did you guys know that if you look at the exact center between Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they are equal distance from the 33rd parallel? There's one on top and one on the bottom. Huh. Wow. Well, that's interesting. We dropped 2 nuclear weapons, the first 2 and only 2 that have ever been used, and we dropped them equal distance from the 33rd parallel. Oh, on targets that were completely irrelevant. I mean, like if you want to end the war, you drop one on Tokyo. It's that simple. You pick their biggest military town and you drop it there. Hiroshima and Nagasaki were not critical. But for some reason, we decided to do that. And, symbols do matter a lot to people, a lot. And I think that was our way of sending a message. I don't know what the fucking message was. Places and things. Yeah, it's quite a pain in the ass, actually, Charles. It's funny because I'm definitely not one to be trifled with when it comes to Trivial Pursuit. On the other hand, it's just, I think it's partially a matter of choice. I've had friends that were so amazing when it came to the numbers with sports. They could tell you what a guy's, like a football player's stats were, is it HRA of a baseball player, home run average? No. Hit, run, I don't know what it's called. I have no idea. I know that I'm a hell of a good baseball player, but I honestly don't actually know all the rules of the game. And I played football in a little bit in high school, a little bit in the Marine Corps, and then I played in college, and I still couldn't tell you probably 80% of the rules. I wouldn't know. Most by the third or fourth month, I think that I knew half of the plays. I knew all the plays that were designed around how fast I could run. I could run very quickly. So there were several plays that were designed around me looking like I missed a tackle, but actually slipping the tackle and running up field and trying to decapitate a linebacker, which is fun because linebackers are always the cockiest people on any football team. But even then, I didn't know most of the plays. I would lean in and they'd call the play, and I'd look at my guard, and he would go, which one that is, and I go, no. And he'd go, oh, fucking just run on field and take out the fucking outside linebacker on your side. I go, outside linebacker, got it. And that was it. So, unfortunately, the reason I remember all this stuff is because it's the only thing that matters to me. It really is. Like, there are things that really interest me. And there are things that simply don't interest me at all. I know very little, if anything, about famous people. I know the ones I've met. I know the ones I've talked to. A couple that I've partied with when I lived in LA. Other than that, I don't know shit about them. I see people in movies now, and I go, "Who's that?" It's like I don't even know. So you know, I try to remember the things that are important, like this. This is important to me. That is a beautiful 999 fine silver 1 ounce coin. So is that. Now that one is supposed to look just like a Morgan silver dollar, except a Morgan silver dollar is 91%. Do I have something else up there? I had one that I thought was really funny. Oh, this one's funny. And that's a fucking penny right there. See, it says 1909 S. Yep. They went there. They put VDB on the back, which by the way stands for Victor David Brenner. Victor David Brenner was the guy who initially came up with Lincoln. Definitely. Victor David Brenner did a bust of Lincoln, and it was for his 100th, the celebration of his 100th year from his birthday, from the date of his birth. And Franklin, no, Teddy Roosevelt saw it and said, "That is absolutely gorgeous. And that does look really like him. Find out if that artist could do a coin, do the engraving for a coin. I think I want for his 100th birthday, I want to make a coin with his likeness. Let's say let's make it a penny, nickel or a penny. They chose a penny. And so the Lincoln penny was born out of a celebration of Lincoln's 100th birthday. And the wheat on the back is to celebrate. That's interesting. Real quick, I'm going to take a little sidebar here. I'm going to unhide this. Wow. It says here, I have a 4-inch diameter buffalo nickel. Why would they censor that? I get it. He's like, I have a 4-inch, and they were like, nope. Whatever comes out of your twisted fucking brain next, we don't want on the internet. Because God only knows, with all the Epstein files coming out, we have enough twisted shit on the internet. Oh, you were talking about a buffalo nickel? Oh, okay, sorry. Oops. Our bad. Yeah, man, some of the stuff, it's really amazing because it's like, okay, look, if this stuff is true, then let's find out who did this. Let's track them down and end them. You gotta end them. You gotta end them. I just watched Rio Bravo with my son, with John Wayne and Ricky Nelson, of course, and Dean Martin, and the old geezer. I forget his name. Thank God he was great. And that actress, I can't even remember her name, but God, Angie Dickinson. I can't remember her name. Angie Dickinson. God, what a fantastic movie. It starts slow, it builds. It's a really cool old Western. But the thing about it that you really, if you're paying attention, really shocks you. Because I watched it when I was probably 8 years old. My son's about 13 now, and I wanted him to see it too. And when I watched it for the first time since I'd seen it as a kid, I I realized, like, wow, men were different back then. This is only 1959, but men were very, very different. One guy's trying to get sober and he's got the shakes real bad. He's got DTs, the delirium tremors, where you see hallucinations and stuff. They finally figured out what all that is, by the way. But he's got the DTs, his hands are shaking. He's trying to roll a cigarette. He can't roll a cigarette. He's questioning a lot of his life choices. And one of the guys says, yeah, he's got it pretty bad. And John Wayne says, yeah, that's why I'm being so hard on him. Wait, what? He's like, yeah, that's why I'm being so hard on him. If I cut him any slack right now, he'll fall apart. And I thought, motherfucker, that is so completely opposite from what we do now. That is so opposite. When you're having a hard time now, oh my God, there's so many people there to tickle your balls and kiss your ass and whisper sweet nothings in your ear about the fact that you're the best thing that ever happened to everybody. And my God, you can do it. Boy, you go. Boy, you can do this. You got this. Oh my gosh, No, that's not the way it was. And it's like, all right, you quit drinking. You going to sit around and bellyache and bitch, or you going to get up off your ass and get moving? And you went, yeah, it's a good point. I can remember my dad saying shit like that to me. Like, you're going to just lay around and bellyache all day and bitch like a little girl, or you're going to get up and get to work. And it's like, I guess I'm going to get up and get to fucking work. And it seemed like everybody was happier then. There were still bills to pay. Work wasn't easier. But it seemed, well, Walter Brennan, exactly. And it's amazing because something's going very wrong here now. One of the worst things I went through, 14. Oh yeah, the DTs. They figured out. My dad went through the DTs. Delirium tremors. Believe it or not, when you're drunk, you don't go into REM sleep. You don't get REM sleep. You pass out, but you don't go into REM sleep. REM sleep is extremely important. That's where you have all your dreams. So when you get drunk every night and you pass out, you don't dream. You might dream a little bit, but you don't dream enough. And apparently, dreaming is so important to your brain that you have to do it. So after years of not dreaming because you have gotten drunk every single night, what happens is you actually start to dream while you are awake when you stop drinking. All of those hallucinations are actually dreams. So when you see spiders climbing on the walls, or you look over and you see a pink elephant in the room, you're actually dreaming. But because your eyes are open and you're conscious, you know you're not dreaming, but you are. It's your body catching up on REM sleep finally, because you have literally medicated it to the point where it couldn't REM sleep for all those years. And that's why some people, when they quit drinking, it kills them, because their body simply cannot deal with being sober. That's why some guys, hey, look, man, that old thing about the hair of the dog that bit you. Some people go cold turkey. Some people, if they went cold turkey, it would kill them. So you got to wean them off, or put them in a hospital, and keep them a little drugged up for a few weeks until they finally come out of it. Yeah. Yeah, it's I remember when I quit drinking for 20 years because I just didn't want to. I wanted to make sure that I didn't fuck off and basically party my way through my daughter's childhood. And it was, it's the first time I'd ever raised a child. I didn't have five of them yet. So with the first one, I thought, I now that I'm here and everybody told me I was going to be just like my dad, I'm not. And I couldn't imagine how he found it necessary to beat the hell out of me as a kid for doing whatever pissed him off, whatever it was. But I realized like there's no way I would do that to her. And that's when it dawned on me, if I'm drinking, I'm not being as good a father as I could be. And she might be better off with a stepfather who's like a normal person, doesn't party all the time like I do. And that's when I also realized that, well, shit, who's to say that she's going to end up with somebody who's better than me? She could end up with somebody a lot worse than me. No, that's not that. I'm not willing to take that chance. Well, fuck, I guess I only have one option then, and that's to just quit for a while. So I did. I quit for 20 years. And that gave me an opportunity to see some interesting things. It's funny because when you drink a lot, you think that your life is easier, blow off some steam, have a good time, relax. But then after you've been sober for a little while, you realize, like, damn, all those problems that I thought were so overwhelming, they weren't actually that fucking complicated. But I was just creating so many messes, little messes, that my life was a big mess. Huh. Okay. Won't do that again. Oh, the functional's the worst. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Being a functional alcoholic is probably the worst. And the reason I say that is because when you're non-functional, you hit bottom faster. You just crash. And once you crash, that's it. You either stay at the bottom, lose everything, everybody leaves, and then you're free to just drink yourself to death as quickly as you possibly can. Or B, you hit bottom, you realize that this is not what you wanted for your life, and then you get off your ass and fix it. Which, of course, takes me back to the whole John Wayne thing. He didn't cut Dean Martin any slack. As a matter of fact, he was a little harder on him than usual because he wanted him to get his shit together. You don't want to give him a bunch of excuses. And it's like, God damn, we give each other so many excuses nowadays to be weak. What is that about? Hmm. Yeah, that's another problem is when you're not an asshole drunk, everybody wants you to be drunk. I remember all my friends were like, dude, why'd you quit drinking, man? What about Friday night? We got that party to go to, blah, blah, blah. Of course, I also quit drinking when I lived in Beverly Hills, which made it even worse because then everybody was like, come on, man, come to our party, blah, blah, blah. So what ended up happening though was I ended up after several years not being weird about being around drunk people. I thought it was actually kind of funny. It didn't bother me at all. Drunk, stoned, whatever, it doesn't bother me. And the reason is I wasn't jealous. That's something that a lot of people don't want to admit. Well, why don't you like being around the drunk people? Oh, they just piss me off. They act like assholes. No, they just act like drunk people. But when you look at them and you go, God damn it, I wish I could have a fucking drink like them. That's when you get mad at them. That's when you start thinking, I don't want to be around these people. But and this is the way that I put it, and this is the way you should think about it if you want to quit drinking or if you know somebody that should quit drinking. Imagine you're in a relationship and it doesn't work out. Now, you really did have some pretty serious feelings for this girl or guy, this other. You could say you were in love, and this was possibly with a few flaws and a few dings and dents. This was the right person though, probably for forever, possibly, And they're gone. And a couple months go by. Let's say 6 months go by. You're in a restaurant and you're by yourself, and you look up and you see that other person. And that other person is with somebody that you kind of recognize. And then you realize that the only reason you recognize them is because they're kind of somewhat famous. That's a doctor, and that doctor's written a best-selling book. That's why you recognize them, because they were just on a morning show the other day, and now your ex is walking into the restaurant with them. There's only two scenarios here. Number one, you haven't found your person yet, and you are sitting there thinking to yourself, fucking great. This is great. I'm sitting here at this table by myself, and they're going to see me. And God, why can't you just fucking open a hole in the floor and let me fall in it so that I don't have to be this jealous, this embarrassed, and this sad all at one time, because this sucks. Or the other scenario is you're sitting there, or maybe this other person isn't there, but you've met somebody in that last 6 months that makes you so happy that you can't imagine your life without them. And they feel the same way. And now you see the difference. You see what real happiness is. And now you're being honest with yourself, and you're like, yeah, there were a lot of things about that last relationship that I tried to like pretend about and just overlook, but that probably wouldn't have worked long term. I mean, maybe for a few years, but yeah, there were some issues that I was trying to pretend weren't there. And those issues are gone. This relationship makes you happy all the time, makes the other person happy all the time. Can't wait to see each other, talk about things that you normally wouldn't tell anybody, just random trivial things that, bounce around in your brain. And oh my God, I think that exact same thing is one of the more common things that you say to each other. Now, from that frame of reference, you see this other person walk in, your ex, with this famous, very good looking, very wealthy, very accomplished person, and you go, that's so cool. I am so happy for them. Because what's there to be upset about? Like, hey, I got everything I could ever want, and you got everything you could ever want. That's cool. Because you're not a bad person. It didn't work out with us, but you're not a horrible person. You're not the devil or anything. It's just, it just didn't work with us. And they're happy, and you're happy. And that's the key. When you're happy, you don't go around looking at everybody else and feeling any jealousy. It's like, don't worry about what everybody else at the poker table's making. Just mind your own hand. You got enough shit going on over here. You don't need to be counting their profits. And it's kind of the same thing with sobriety. Either you get to a point where you see that, hey, you know what? I gave up alcohol as the number one love of my life, and I found an even bigger life with more love in it. Cool. I got my daughter. I got my soon-to-be ex, which is a whole other deal, because she came to me years later and apologized for not forgiving me and said, look, I see that, after you got sober, you worked for years to try to fix our marriage, and I just totally ignored it. And I said, you have absolutely nothing to apologize about. She said, no, I do. Like, I could see you trying. I could see you doing the dishes and scrubbing the floors and taking our daughter to school and doing everything around the house and doing the laundry and going to work and supporting us. And I got to stay home and do nothing. And I still was pissed off at you. I said, yeah, that's right. And she goes, so why wouldn't I feel bad and apologize for that? And I said, because you didn't hurt me. I hurt you. So the question is, who is responsible for the marriage not being able to be fixed? Is it you because you were too scared to let your guard down again? Or is it my fault for fucking it up to begin with? And she was like, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way. And I said, yeah, it's my fault. Like, we got married and I was drinking and making a ton of money. And yeah, sure, I bought you whatever you wanted. But then, 4 or 5 nights a week, I had to take all the boys from my office out to go drinking. Come home, you'd be in bed, I'd be, shit faced. I said, that's not a marriage. And that's what you thought we were getting into. And you didn't realize I was going to be, this sort of absent husband who tried to just buy you shit instead of being your husband. And I think it broke your heart. And some people can bounce back from a broken heart, and some people cannot. And if you can't, how's that your fault? And she literally, we were in a Denny's restaurant, and she literally was sitting there just shaking her head, and she was like, wow, I really did not think it was going to go like this. And I said, why? And she said, well, I'm sober and I'm supposed to be making amends. And I knew that I should make amends to you for, I literally knew that you were trying as hard as you could to fix our marriage. And I was so upset that I just fucked it up every chance I got. And I said, what are you talking about? Like, how? What do you mean by that? And she goes, well, when Chandler, our daughter, would she'd come and get in our bed sometimes. She'd, wake up in the middle of the night. She'd come and get in our bed just about the time we were going to bed. And I said, yeah. And she'd go, and, you'd sort of, reach over to try to put your arms around me or something and cuddle with me. And I said, yeah. And she'd go, I would reach under the covers and I would pinch Chandler to make her cry. I was like, you did that on purpose? You pinched our daughter to make her cry? And she was like, yeah, and that way I could just put her right between us. And I was like, you are a fucking monster. We got a good laugh out of that because I don't think she was planning on admitting that she'd ever done that. But yeah, she did. Whatever. Bottom line is marriages are a mess. That's why if you're going to start a company with somebody, just remember that having business partners is like being in a marriage without sex. Yeah. Because for a lot of people, that's kind of the only thing that works. Now, for some of you, I feel fucking terrible for you if that's the case, but for some of you, everything else works great, and that's the only thing that doesn't work. Actually, now that I think about it, if I had a choice between everything about my marriage being perfect except for that, and that just was like bleh, but everything else was great. Friendship, communications, like, alignment as far as like adventuring and shit like that. And the most important one of all, intelligence. Yeah, I'd rather have that than have a great sex life with somebody that I couldn't stand. Now I understand. Well, there you go. I hope I somehow I have helped some of you with your either marriages or potential marriages. Yes, Unlucky Man, it has not been easy. Yeah, look, man, being an alcoholic and quitting drinking, it's a tough one. It's a very, very tough one. And the funny thing is, I thought that it was, I mean, whenever anybody does anything, men, I should say, although women do have egos, they just express them differently. But when men do anything right, even for just a minute, we like to pat ourselves on the back so hard that we actually sometimes are in danger of of throwing our shoulders out, literally dislocating our own arms because we pat ourselves on the back so much. So when I thought about getting sober, I was like, yeah, man, this is awesome. Like this is the hardest thing you'll ever do, ever. And then I met somebody from like I don't even know what it's called, like kind of like Weight Watchers, where it's like, overeaters. That's what it is, Overeaters Anonymous. And they were like, yeah, you don't have to drink alcohol, do you? And I said, no, no, you don't. They said, but you do have to eat, right? And I said, yeah. They said, imagine if your addiction was food. You still have to keep doing it. And I was like, oh shit. That would be like, no, I can't, I'm not allowed to quit drinking, but I have to just moderate it. It's like, ooh, no, I'd rather just cut it out of my life. Yeah, but you can't cut it out of your life if it's food. Oh shit. That would be terrible. It's like, oh yeah, I want to make something that I really like. Oh, except I can't because then I'll eat too much of it. So I think I'll just have like a hard boiled egg and some broccoli. Eesh. Don't even get started with the thing about these people that are in the sex anonymous or whatever it's called, where it's like you either never have sex again or you have to battle this addiction shit for the rest of your life. Whoa, I mean, there are some addictions that are like, that make alcohol, because alcohol is something that you don't have to do. Walk away. Just fucking walk away. Put the cork in the bottle, talk to people. That's the other part. Because if you're truly an alcoholic, then you're crazy. I know. Because I may not even be an alcoholic, but I'm close enough that I get the crazy part. I get the part that I remember telling a kid once who was he was in the doctorate program, and he had his degree, his master's was in physics at UCLA, theoretical physics. Fucking genius. I mean, wow, next level shit. The first time I met him, his mom came over to the meeting that I was outside of. And I was outside the meeting because I'd already gone to a AA meeting that day, and I was standing outside this second meeting, just watching the cars because we some of the meetings are in kind of questionable areas, and just make sure nobody breaks into a car or something. I'll have a few guys that have already been to a meeting that day stand outside. So I'm standing outside, and this woman walks up and she says, "Hey, I live in that apartment building right there, and my son is really really drunk, and he wants to quit drinking. He just told me he wants to quit drinking, and so I knew there was a meeting here, and that's why I came to get you. Can you help me?" You never say no to an AA request. So you also don't usually waste your time with drunk people, but if it's an AA request, you do. So I said, yes, absolutely. So a buddy of mine, Joe, one of the funniest guys I've ever met, we walked over to this woman's apartment. We went inside, and her son is just shit faced, but he's still alert. He's not passed out or anything. And I finally, after talking to him for about 20 minutes, I said, you know what? You're right. You don't need to get sober. And he was sitting on his bed, and he looked at me and he goes, oh, is that where we're going to go with this? Because he was probably 160 IQ. He goes, oh, is that where we're going to go with this? He goes, I'm not a little kid. That's not reverse. The reverse thing's not going to work with me. And I said, no, I'm sure that it won't. I'm fairly confident that you have one of the highest IQs of anybody I've ever met. And he goes, well, physics. It's like, the people I run around with, I'm just average. And I said, yeah, but we both know you're not just average. And he kind of, shrugged and smiled, smug little smile. And I said, but I will tell you this. You're way too smart to get sober, so you're probably a dead man. And that's not reverse psychology. That's just me being honest with you. because I am right at the bubble. Like I'm right at the bubble. If I were any smarter, I wouldn't be sober. And I think that you're probably a good 10, 15 points above me, which means that no matter how bad you want to stop, you'll always be able to talk yourself into it because, man, when your subconscious decides to really get on a roll, you can't stop it. It's too fucking smart for you. So it was nice talking to you. I hope somehow you manage to quit. I doubt very seriously you will, and you're going to end up dead. But you know what? Try to do something. Like try to come up with some kind of breakthrough with physics before you die. And I'm going to give you a year max, probably more like 6 months, but I'll give you a year. So try to do something with your life in the next year before you're a dead man. And that's it. I got nothing more to say to you. Have a great night. And I turned around and walked out. And my buddy Joe was like, the fuck, dude? I said, come on, man, let's go. We get out in the hallway and he's like, what the fuck was that? We're supposed to take him to a meeting. We're supposed to convince him to come with us. And I was like, that's not how that guy works. And he was like, I don't understand. And I go, look, if you tried to pull that guy, you'd have better luck putting a harness on a fucking mule and dragging it across the desert. Like that guy's not going to do anything that he doesn't decide he wants to do first. So he's got to decide. And I figure we got about a 50-50 shot. It's a 50-50 shot, man. He's either going to go, you know what? No, fuck him. I can do this. Like I can manage. And he's going to get sober. Or he's going to go, yeah, that guy's right. And he's dead. But what can I do? Like 50-50 is the best shot we've got. About, I don't know, a month later, he walks through the door of a meeting and he doesn't look real good. And he comes over and he goes, hey, I wanted to talk to you. And I said, how'd you know I was going to be at this meeting? He goes, oh, I've been to several meetings today because you said you go like every Saturday. And I said, okay. He goes, I wanted to be, just this one. I said, you look like shit, man. Can I get you some coffee? And he goes, yeah, that'd be good. And I gave him half cup, as you always do with the new guys. And he looked at it and he was like, how come I only get half a cup? Everybody else gets a cup. And I was like, look at your hand for a second. And he goes, yeah, I can handle a full cup. And I said, look, first thing, dude, let's start being honest with ourselves. You're shaking like a dog shitting peach seeds right now. Stop. It's cool with the bullshit. Okay? Bullshit those people. You're a lot smarter than them. But you're only a little smarter than me, so stop. And he started laughing. He goes, okay. 90 days after that, I'll never forget being in the outfield playing softball with a bunch of sober guys on a Saturday morning. And he comes running up. And as he's running, he's holding a cup of coffee and not spilling a drop. And he stops and he goes, I got a full cup and I can run with it now. And I said, yeah, man, it takes about 90 days for your brain to reset. And he goes, my brain is reset. And I said, so you going to stay sober for a little while? He goes, I don't know. I don't want to say yes because you know how our brains work. I was like, not my brain. You're the smart one. So he stayed sober for as long as I was around. I've seen many die from booze. Yeah, unfortunately, that's the thing is booze is the fastest, easiest way. The hardest way, and I see this still to this day, I see it all over the place, is food. Eating yourself to death. And the sad part is that because of the people in power around us, they love that. They love watching us die from that. They love feeding us goy slop. And they love watching us get sicker and sicker. They love watching us get fatter, running out of energy, getting to a point where we're so tired and confused that we don't even know what fucking decisions to make or what those decisions mean anymore. That's exactly where they want us. And then it's really easy because all you have to do is the people who tend to go this way, you feed them one message. The people who tend to go that way, you feed them another message. and make sure they fight all the time. Right, left, black, white. There's probably that. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to say that you're probably looking at only 3 or 4 ways that the United States is divided into sections. But man, those divides are really, really well done. They're really well done. And it all started at exactly the same time. And most people have no idea when that was. But it was exactly when Occupy Wall Street happened. When Occupy Wall Street happened, I'll never forget, we really started to scare them. We really, really started to scare the Epstein class. And when the Epstein class gets scared, they have hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars they can waste on anything. They can spend it on whatever they want. Because when you have trillions, the amount of interest that you make is so much that if you spent billions a day, you would never touch the principal. You would live off interest if you spent billions a day. So once you get to trillions, you're in this world that makes no sense to the rest of us, which is why when you look down upon the rest of us, you see that you're not one of us. And in a way, I don't blame them because they are so insulated from the rest of the world that they don't understand. And it's funny because this isn't the first time this has happened. If you read the story of Buddha, this is exactly what happened to Buddha. He was kept in the palace his entire young life. He was given the most beautiful women when he was a child, the most beautiful women to be around, eventually the most beautiful women to play with when he was 13, 14 years old. Not uncommon back then. And one day he decided to go out into the world. Well, what he saw absolutely destroyed him. He'd never seen elderly people before. Never seen old people. He didn't know what they were. He'd never seen sickness. He'd never seen poverty. He thought that the world was what he saw. Excess and abundance everywhere you turn. How do you relate when that is all you've had? And in order to not do what Buddha did, because Buddha realized, I am no different than them. The only thing that I have that they don't have are these physical things, these outside things. But as far as what I am, what makes me me, I am no different than the man dying in the street at my age of starvation. That kind of a shock, that would make the most wealthy person in the world become one of the best human beings in the world, because they would be so shocked and appalled and disgusted by their own difference from the rest of us that they wouldn't be able to look in the mirror unless they were protected. And how do you protect someone from feeling that overwhelming sense of guilt and responsibility? You give them reason. You create the other. The other isn't as good as us. The other is different than us. Now, do I think that the Jews believe that of all the Goyim? Yeah, of course. It's written in their book. They talk about it openly. They teach it in their universities. This isn't something I made up. This isn't misinformation. This is just simply what they say, what they print, what they believe. And you go over there and ask them, what do you guys think of Jesus? They're like, he's a false prophet. You're a fool. You're following a false prophet. You're going to hell. You know, your prophet was an orphan because his dad was not an orphan, a bastard. because his father wasn't really his father. It was a centurion she was cheating on Joseph with. I mean, it's all bullshit. Your whole religion's bullshit. Oh, well, thank you. Okay, cool. Now we know. So when you look at Judaism, do the Jews actually believe that they're superior to the goyim, which is everyone else on earth? Yeah, they really do. It's it must be a very strange feeling for them. Do I think that they are the only group of people? No, no, I don't. I think that there are a group of people that are using the Jews, that see the Jews as beneath them. Who are those people? I don't know. I don't know. But when I look at the Hasidic Jews or the Haredi Jews, and I see these literally clowns dressed in clown suits with their long curly hair and they acting crazy and rioting by stomping around and giggling like little schoolgirls, I think this is this is supposed to run the world. Good luck with that. This is embarrassing. So who is in charge? I always thought the Rothschild family was just a joke. I mean, back, Amschel Rothschild. No, it's no joke. Did the Rothschilds know the outcome of Waterloo before anyone else? Yes. Did they crash the stock market with rumors so that they could buy up all the stocks and become the wealthiest people in England overnight? Yes. They didn't just profit, they profited at the expense of everyone else. Now, that kind of leeching off of a society will get you kicked out of it pretty quickly. But my point is there somebody above them? Is there some other organization, some group that even uses them? I think so. I think there is, because there are some things going on, these Epsteins, and there's hundreds of Epsteins. Epstein was a half measures guy. Do I think that Epstein did the worst possible things? I don't think so. Didn't have that vibe, but he did facilitate them. I think that he facilitated the worst of the worst, but I don't think he was the worst of the worst. I think that there are people out there that are much, much more purely evil. Not evil because they're Jewish and they want to control the world, not because they think Goyim are beneath them, not because they have a greater Israel project, not because they want more money. There are people out there who are evil for the sake of evil. And they understand that evil and power go hand in hand. They always have. When you force a man into a position of power, you say, we voted and you're going to run the country for the next 4 years. And he says, well, I didn't ask for that position. That's right. That's the only reason you deserve it. When a man stands up and says, I will go out and I will sacrifice everything I have, everything I own, all of my family. I won't raise my own children. I'll have servants raise my children, and I will deny them everything. I will deny them all of my love and all of my attention so that they become resentful and hate their own parents. And all I ask for is that if I can raise $1 billion Can you please pay me $450,000 a year? Wait, you'd spend $1 billion to get a job that pays you 450,000 a year? Yes. Why? Why would you do that? You sacrifice your family? Yeah, yeah. Okay. Are you going to make the country a better place? Well, I mean, I'm going to say that I will, but will you actually do anything? No, of course not. Then why would you do that? Like when I'm around my kids, that's the happiest I ever am. I have a responsibility to be able to take care of them and to buy them an education and to be able to take them to the doctor if they get sick. So I have to work, but that's why I work. I don't work so that I can be extremely wealthy and extremely powerful. That doesn't matter. Like once you have children, you either realize that and you realize that the question to why are we here? What's the meaning of life? If you have children, you already know the answer to that because nothing makes you feel better than seeing your children laughing, like really laughing, like when they're wrestling with each other or something. Just hear them from the other room. And it's a feeling of peace that you can't know anywhere else, period. You'll never know that feeling of peace. I have had children. I have gone to places like Hurricane Katrina after it hit for free, for by myself without any agency to try to save people's lives. And I can tell you that at that moment, when I came back from saving people in New Orleans, I had a very strange feeling that I mattered. That's all. Like my life wasn't just wasted. I mattered to somebody. I mattered to those people who I saved, for sure. But I felt like I mattered. And that's when Elon Musk said something that I will never forget. And I try to think about it every day. Just contribute more than you consume. That's all. Contribute more than you consume. Epstein was consuming enormous amounts. His friends, his family are consuming enormous amounts. The people on that list, those thousands of people's names, all of the people at those P. Diddy parties that knew what was going on and did nothing, they are consuming so much more than they contribute. You wrote a catchy dance tune one time? Oh, well, I guess that contributes. People are happy when they listen to it, right? That's upbeat. Oh, it talks about pouring champagne on the floor of a club and killing people if they disrespect you. Oh, okay. Well, then no, that's insanely negative, and that's a message that you're pouring directly into my child's ears. Okay, fuck you. Nothing about you is good. You are nothing but negative. Okay, well, then you definitely consume more than you create or contribute. And that's really what it boils down to. Just try to contribute more than you consume. So, by the way, speaking of consumption, time's running out. That article I read this morning did actually worry the hell out of me. If there is going to be a massive solar flare by 2028, there are going to be some things that you need to know. Yes, silver may help, but silver alone is not going to be enough. What you need some other things, some things that some of them are common sense, like There. Rice, beans, right there in that bag. Water, water, things like that. Things that are common sense. You'll definitely need those. Um, there will definitely be another war. By the way, Charles saw that. There will be another war probably in the next couple of weeks, and it'll be against Iran. And the thing that I have to ask is why? All of the excuses we've been given are just stupid. Oh, we have to get to them before they get to us. What? So, in based on that, you should probably shoot your neighbor just in case they turn out to be a lunatic, because you never know. You never know. Doesn't make any sense. Um, so yeah, we will definitely be at war, but that'll help Silver, of course. But really, what it boils down to is when the shit really, really hits the fan. One of those things is body armor. No, I wouldn't bother with body armor. See, the problem with body armor is you've already lost. It's security through obscurity. You either lay low, keep your head down, keep your mouth shut, or B, you have a group of people that all contribute to one another's safety and you work together as a group. Usually and it depends on what author. That's why I'm writing my own book on this, which will be pre-sale pretty soon. 20 people is enough. About 100 people is really good. And these people need to be screened very carefully. They cannot have this sort of prima donna attitude of, I'm special because I can cry on command. Those people are absolutely going to be just horrible. I got 50 pounds of long grain brown rice. Good. It does have a longer shelf life. You have to put it in your freezer for about 10 days first, then put it out. And don't buy brown rice anymore. Brown rice, that casing that's on the rice, that's all gluten. And that's got lectins in it as well. And the lectins that are in there are poison. And they're natural poison that the plant produces in order to keep bugs from eating it. So believe it or not, white bread's better for you than wheat bread. And white rice is better for you than brown rice. I was raised thinking brown rice was the best stuff for you, but it's not. Because that husk is actually where the poison is for the rice. So get white rice, just like I've got right back there on the shelf. Damn, over there on the shelf. That is Mahatma. And, I just thought of something. I want to say enriched, and if it is, it's poison. Oh, man. I hope it's not enriched. Let's find out. Okay. Enriched rice, son of a bitch. Oh. Folic goddamn acid. God damn it. Son of a bitch. Well, that's garbage. I'll have to figure out what to do with a couple 100 pounds of that I've got, because I'm not eating that shit, and I'm certainly not feeding it to my kids. That basmati rice behind me is twice as expensive. There. But I don't think it's enriched. Man, I can't believe it. The fucking FDA poisons everything. They literally poison all of our food. How is that possible that they poison all of our food? Anyway. All right, guys. Well, I've had fun for the last couple hours. I'm going to call it a night. It's Tuesday. I'll be back on here tomorrow night. I'll be a little late. I have a drum lesson. Yes, I'm a drummer, but I'm rusty. So I'm going to take some drum lessons and get better.